Imagine this. It's 2025, and just having a stable roof over your head in America, it's basically shifted. It's not a basic thing anymore. It's an outright luxury.
Yeah.
That's the pretty startling idea coming out of the sources we looked at for this deep dive.
It really is.
So our mission today really is to pull back the curtain, show how this escalating housing crisis isn't just affecting, a few people. It's actually crushing the middle class. It's reshaping American life.
Fundamentally.
Okay, let's unpack this.
It's definitely not just a regional thing anymore. This is hitting pretty much every community across the country.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. We're seeing this dramatic surge, rents, home prices.
Mm-hmm.
It's leading to a reality where millions of people, and many of them work full-time jobs.
Right.
They're struggling, really struggling to find stable housing.
And the raw numbers, they really highlight just how bad it is. The data's stark. Reports show median rent in big cities, New York, San Francisco, Miami, it's routinely over $3,000 a month now.
$3,000. Just median.
And if you're even thinking about buying, the average U.S. home price, it's climbed to, over $450,000.
Average. And what's truly heartbreaking is when you see how these numbers, translate into actual human stories. Officially, we know over 650,000 people are counted as homeless.
Officially.
But yeah, exactly. The sources we looked at really emphasize there's so many others hidden. They're in really precarious situations, often just not seen by the official counts.
Wow.
And like I said, it's not just a big city issue anymore. Smaller towns, rural areas too, they're seeing these dramatic rent hikes. It's catching a lot of people off guard.
It's just deeply unsettling, isn't it? We're talking about essential workers here.
Yeah.
Full-time workers, teachers, nurses, police officers. They just can't afford to live in the communities they actually serve.
Priced out.
Completely. There's this one really powerful quote from a server in Las Vegas in the material. She said, "We're working full-time and living in tents."
Living in tents.
I mean, that image. It just says so much, right? It makes you really question the whole foundation. What stands out to you when you hear that?
Well, when we dig into the roots, what caused this crisis? It's deep and it's complicated. Lots of factors.
Right.
Research points to, years of just not building enough homes, especially after the 2008 crash, created this huge supply gap.
Okay.
Then, and this is critical, you had Wall Street firms stepping in, these big investment funds.
Right, the private equity folks.
Exactly. Buying up enormous numbers of houses, just thousands.
And not to live in them.
No, they're converting them into rental portfolios. So they shrink the pool of homes people can actually buy, and it turns housing from, a basic need into just another investment.
An asset class.
Precisely. And of course, you've got the short-term rental platforms too, like Airbnb. They've definitely played a part, reducing long-term supply in lots of places, pushing local prices up.
And it's not just those long-term things, right? More recent stuff has really made it worse.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the pandemic moves, everyone working remote suddenly, that just completely reshuffled populations, put huge unexpected pressure on housing markets in places that used to be affordable.
Totally scrambled the map.
Yeah.
And for anyone trying to buy their first home now, in 2025, those high interest rates are just a massive wall.
Yeah.
It basically locks so many first-time buyers completely out of the market.
So you can't even get started.
Exactly. There's this real estate analyst quote in the sources that nailed it. You're competing with corporations, not neighbors, to buy homes.
Wow, competing with corporations.
What's fascinating here is how all these different forces, things that seem unrelated, they all just converge to create this incredibly tight competitive market. And it leaves individuals, regular people, at a huge disadvantage.
So while families are struggling, getting priced out, there's this really uncomfortable truth that someone is benefiting.
Oh, definitely.
Our sources point out these big private equity firms own thousands and thousands of homes. They're operating them like assets on a balance sheet, not like places for people to live.
And it's not passive. It's not just owning them. The research shows these real estate companies are actively lobbying, trying to limit affordable housing projects.
Really? Actively fighting it.
Yeah, often behind the scenes.
Right.
And that action just makes the problem even worse for people desperate to find somewhere, anywhere they can afford.
It gets, even more unsettling when you look at what some tech investors are pushing as solutions. You hear about these co-living pods.
Right, or tiny homes.
Yeah, tiny homes. But the fundamental issue, the rent, it just keeps climbing relentlessly. Wages aren't keeping up for most people, so you have to ask, are these real solutions or just ways to cope with a broken system.
An urban economist we read put it so clearly. He said, the housing crisis is not an accident, it's a business model.
Wow. It's a business model. Here's where it gets really interesting. That statement just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Forces you to confront who's actually benefiting from all this unaffordability.
It really does. And you see the stark impact of this business model in how homelessness itself looks different now in 2025. It's not just the old stereotypes.
Right.
The sources describe entire families, many with jobs, living out of their cars or vans.
Families in cars.
Yeah. And many, many more are in motels or living in RVs or just couch surfing with friends. It's this kind of hidden homelessness, Doesn't always show up in the official numbers.
Invisible.
And sadly, tent cities.
Yeah.
They're becoming much more common. You see them in cities all over LA, Phoenix, Denver.
It's truly heartbreaking. I read about workers forced to rent just a bunk bed in a shared room for like $800 a month.
$800 for a bunk bed.
And these aren't people who aren't trying, right? That's the critical point. It's not just the unemployed. Many of these folks have full-time jobs, sometimes more than one.
That's the key takeaway. A sociologist from Portland described it perfectly.
Oh.
She called it, "This is the new working class. Housed on wheels, broke on paper."
Housed on wheels, broke on paper?
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it says so much about how work is changing, how opportunity is changing, the whole structure of life in America, really.
And this feeds directly into the middle class just disappearing. Housing costs are absolutely eating up people's income.
Devouring it.
The data shows so many Americans now spend way over half their income just on rent, 50%.
50% or more. Then you add student loans, food costs going up, healthcare.
Right. There's just nothing left. No savings, no cushion for emergencies, no way to build any kind of financial security.
And it paints a really bleak picture for younger generations, doesn't it? Buying a home.
Mm.
That cornerstone of the American dream for so long, it's become almost impossible for millennials, for Gen Z.
Just out of reach.
Completely. And the stats back it up. Fewer Americans own homes today than at any point since the 1960s.
Since the 60s, wow.
Yeah. It's a huge generational shift.
Yeah.
A societal shift.
It really is. There was this quote from a former homeowner in Atlanta that just summed it all up. She said, "The American dream used to mean a house. Now it just means survival."
Survival.
So what does this all mean? I mean, where does that leave us with solutions?
Well, okay, there are ideas out there, but the sources, they paint a picture of very little real action happen.
Like what?
Rent control, for example.
Hmm.
It's actually blocked by law in many states, so that limits its impact right there.
Huh.
Affordable housing plans, even when they get proposed, they often move incredibly slowly. Glacial pace?
Bureaucracy.
Partly. And restrictive zoning laws are a huge one. They still prevent needed new construction, especially denser housing, in areas where demand is sky high. And these aren't just, recent rules. Some are decades old, sometimes with pretty exclusionary roots.
And then you pile on top of that a whole NIM thing, right?
Not in my backyard. Exactly. That local opposition can be incredibly powerful. It stops housing development cold in lots of suburban areas, even when everyone knows it's desperately needed. It's a huge force.
So you have these systemic blocks and then local resistance.
And the political situation just makes it all harder. You see politicians, pointing fingers, blaming each other.
Always.
But the sources really highlight that meaningful systemic change. It just seems to stay out of reach.
This raises an important question. Why? Why, when the crisis is so obvious, is there this gridlock, this inability to actually do something significant?
It's a terrifying question, especially when you look at, say, the Section 8 housing wait lists.
Oh, yeah.
They're over 5 years long in many places now.
5 years. Think about that. That wait isn't just a long line. It's proof that the safety net is completely broken. It leaves hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, with literally no viable housing options for years.
It's just utterly stuck. So, bringing this deep dive toward a close, the consistent thing we saw across all the different sources is that housing, it's so much more than just shelter. It's fundamental. It's tied to safety, to basic human dignity, to the future for individuals, for families, for whole communities.
And what the sources are telling us loud and clear is that in America, right now, 2025, for way too many people, that foundational promise, a stable future, anchored by a home, it just feels completely out of reach.
Yeah.
Unattainable.
It really makes you think. Consider what a society risks losing When that basic promise of a home becomes an impossible dream for the very people who keep everything running, the people doing the essential jobs, what happens then?